For a different perspective now on a feminist foreign policy and what that might mean, I'm joined by Valerie Percival. She's an assistant professor of international affairs at the Norman Paterson School at Carleton University. First of all, when you talk about a feminist international assistance program, that's not necessarily a feminist foreign policy. But how significant is it?
Well, I think it's incredibly significant because if you look at the statistics relating to women and girls around the world, there definitely are some dismal figures out there. So if you look at HIV rates, women and girls are disproportionately affected by HIV. If you look at things like economic empowerment and poverty statistics, definitely women and girls need a boost up. So I think that it's a significant move for our government to have that bold and clear feminist assistance policy. But I don't think it's enough. I think that sometimes the government, when they're talking about development policy or foreign policy, they tend to stick to labels, and that kind of masks underlying inaction in some areas.
So where's the inaction in your view?
Well, if you look at our international assistance envelope, first and foremost, it hasn't grown. So while the government announced a 70% increase in defense spending, they did not announce an increase in international development assistance. What the government says is that it's going to do more with the same amount of money, they're going to do it more efficiently. And one way that they're going to be more efficient is by working with civil society organizations on the ground.
So small local organizations, yes, right?
And I think that that is really effective in terms of promoting women's empowerment to a certain extent. But we still need to invest in things like education and health, and our development spending has really flatlined. And so our ability to really contribute in a robust way to development and to humanitarian objectives depends also on putting our money where our mouth is.
What's the difference between a feminist foreign policy and a feminist international aid policy? Because there is a gap. What kind of principles need to apply beyond aid, in your view?
Well, I think an international feminist foreign policy would really talk more boldly, I think, about the position of women and girls. It would make sure that gender analysis is integrated within our military policy and within also our trade policy. And here we come back to the issue of lip service. So while we're talking about putting in a gender chapter in NAFTA, and we have a gender chapter in our trade agreement with Chile, once you scratch the surface, you realize that the economic analysis that underpins those trade agreements does not include a gender perspective. So if you look at the economic papers that precede those agreements before negotiators get to the table, there really is not a robust gender perspective.
I mean, isn't it? I mean, my understanding is that, I mean, that sort of common assumption is that societies that treat gender equality as an important issue are more prosperous and more stable.
Absolutely.
So why is that economic analysis missing?
Well, I think one of the challenges with our government's rhetoric on this is that we tend to talk about us empowering girls and women. So it's very difficult for outsiders like Canadians to go into a country and kind of sprinkle money and wag our finger and say you must treat women and girls better. But what is possible for us is to go into a country and help build coalitions of people and organizations that agree with those principles, and we can help fund the conditions that will make those principles, will realize those principles. So in terms of economic analysis, we need to make sure that property, I talk about a bricks and mortar approach, so you need to make sure that there's property rights, that financial support is available to women, but you also need to do work to address the kind of pernicious beliefs and attitudes that impact on women every day and undermine their opportunities to really thrive in those societies.
Valerie, thank you very much for your perspective on this.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.